The price of contempt. Clean my shoes, drone. You don't belong in this elite sector, sneered Supervisor Thorne, his voice dripping with condescension as he deliberately stomped on Anya's foot. He was utterly blind to the impending collapse his arrogance and pervasive prejudice were orchestrating within the gleaming, futuristic halls of Cyberdyne Systems. This is a tale of how unchecked hatred can devour its perpetrator. Anya, a brilliant and highly respected data analyst at Cyberdyne Systems in Neo-Kyoto, moved through her workdays with quiet resolve and exceptional competence. Yet, she was acutely aware that for some, her outstanding skills and dedication would never be enough, simply because of her background. Thorne, her direct supervisor, made it his personal mission to ensure she felt this disparity daily. He relentlessly hurled dehumanizing insults, deliberately tripped her in public walkways, and orchestrated humiliating scenarios, all while her partner, Kale, watched from a distance, his fury silently intensifying with each incident. The office, a supposed beacon of technological advancement and a symbol of progress in Neo-Kyoto, became a suffocating prison for Anya. Despite the constant barrage of microaggressions and overt acts of discrimination, she held onto her dignity with unwavering resolve. Yet, Thorne's cruelty only escalated. One morning, in front of several colleagues, he intentionally sent her sprawling, scattering her crucial project files, containing sensitive quantum encryption schematics, across the polished, reflective floor. This is how you deal with unauthorized personnel like you, Rogue. You only understand force, he mocked, grinding his heel in her scattered data chips, some of which cracked under the pressure. Humiliated, Anya visibly trembled, but then a quiet, steely strength surfaced. She slowly met his gaze. "You'll face the consequences, Thorne," she stated, her voice steady and surprisingly firm. "Every action has a reaction in this network. Don't forget that." Thorne merely scoffed, a sneer twisting his lips, utterly confident in his unshakable authority and perceived invincibility within Cyberdyne's rigid hierarchy. "Units like you will never touch me," he boasted. "This network isn't for you. Your place is beneath our processing power, always." He had no idea that Kale, a former lead architect for Synthetix Corp with a highly sought-after AI ethics certification and a profound understanding of corporate governance, had meticulously witnessed everything. Years ago, Kale had turned down a high-level executive position at Cyberdyne, preferring to work independently. Now, seeing his partner's torment and the systemic prejudice she endured, he knew his time to act had come. He initiated a series of discreet inquiries and leveraged his extensive network. Without breathing a word of the blatant discrimination he'd seen towards Anya, he simply presented his unparalleled expertise and strategic vision for optimizing Cyberdyne's operational efficiency. Soon, Cyberdyne's executive board announced an unexpected, high-stakes inspection of the Neo-Kyoto branch. As the sleek executive transport touched down at the Neo-Kyoto headquarters' private skydock, Kale emerged, not as a casual visitor, but as the newly appointed chief strategic consultant, tasked specifically with evaluating departmental performance and identifying areas for structural overhaul. Thorne's arrogant smirk vanished, replaced by a chilling realization and a prickle of genuine fear. Kale's gaze, sharp, unwavering, and devoid of any emotion other than professional resolve, held a silent promise of an inevitable reckoning to end the ensuing weeks. Kale moved through Cyberdyne like a phantom storm, observing every detail, meticulously documenting every anomaly. The disparaging remarks and racial slurs aimed at Anya drastically dwindled, and even her former tormentors, sensing a shift in the corporate winds, began offering forced, hollow smiles. Thorne, however, only grew more hostile and paranoid, dismissing Kale as that rogue AI consultant and mocking any perceived shift in the power hierarchy to his closest, now increasingly wary, associates. He remained stubbornly convinced of his untouchable status within Cyberdyne's rigid, old guard structure. One morning, Thorne, fueled by a mixture of panic and bravado, cornered Anya in the break room, his words dripping with venom. Are you uploading unauthorized data with a new consultant? With that anomaly always tethered to his neural interface? Is that how you got your undeserved access? Anya's eyes, devoid of fear but brimming with a quiet, long-suppressed rage, blazed. It's going to end, you know that, don't you? She retorted, her voice low but piercing. Thorn, momentarily unsettled by her newfound defiance, quickly feigned indifference and laughed it off. He was utterly unaware that at that very moment, in a secure, shielded meeting room on the executive floor, Kale was presenting a confidential and devastating report to the company's internal ethics committee. It contained irrefutable evidence, meticulously intercepted communications, compelling witness testimonies from other bullied employees, incriminating data logs, and even internal security footage clearly depicting Thorne's systemic abuses and discriminatory practices. The report was formally titled Hostile Environment and Discriminatory Conduct Within Operational Management. The Thorne Case, a comprehensive analysis. The hammer of justice fell with swift precision on a Friday afternoon. A confidential communiqué, digitally signed by the CEO himself, landed in Thorne's data stream, detailing discriminatory conduct, offensive language, abuse of authority, and systemic workplace harassment. His official designation was at the top of the termination notice. The report was comprehensive, complete with a crystal-clear audio log of him stating, "We core administrators rule here. You should be scrubbing server logs and nothing more." At the very end of the damning document, the source of the complete, irrefutable report was clearly stated. Cale Vance, Chief Strategic Consultant. Thorne's meticulously constructed world disintegrated around him. The following Monday, pale and trembling, he was ignominiously escorted from the Cyberdyne campus by corporate security, his former colleagues watching in stunned silence, a mixture of shock and quiet satisfaction on their faces. The most painful sight for him was Anya, standing calmly by her workstation, serene and dignified, holding a data slate with new project parameters. She looked at him not with hatred nor visible triumph, but with a profound, quiet peace, the kind that comes from finally breathing freely after years of suffocation. In the executive briefing room, Thorne's desperate, rambling denials were met by Cale, who sat across from him, impeccably dressed, his gaze sharp and unyielding. "You abuse your authority for cycles," Cale stated calmly, his voice devoid of emotion. "Not just with my partner, but with other system analysts, maintenance crews, and junior developers. Everyone feared you. But today, that fear is terminated." Thorne stared at him, as if only just then understanding the full scope of Cale's meticulous plan. "You did all this?" he stammered. "Not all of it," Cale responded, his voice chillingly precise. "I merely activated the diagnostic. The rest, supervisor, you did yourself, through your own actions." Within an hour, Thorne was formally suspended, facing a comprehensive internal investigation and imminent legal action for discrimination and workplace abuse. His tyrannical reign was unequivocally over. Days later, the internal announcement confirmed what many had anticipated. Cale Vance was formally appointed as the new head of operations for the Neo-Kyoto branch, not through favoritism or overt revenge, but because his impeccable qualifications and strategic insights made him demonstrably the most qualified candidate. His professional demeanor in meetings never wavered, but when pressed by an inquisitive board member about the recent organizational shifts, he simply stated, his eyes briefly, meeting Anya's across the table. "Every corrupted file eventually self-deletes. You just have to wait for the optimal cycle to initiate the purge." Supervisor Thorne's downfall was not a sudden explosion, but a slow, controlled, and utterly deserved implosion. His once unblemished professional reputation in Neo-Kyoto's cutthroat tech sector was irrevocably ruined. His partner, unable to tolerate his toxic personality any longer, left him, taking their children to a more peaceful district. He spiraled into a solitary existence, eventually ending up in a dingy, perpetually damp Sector Gamma apartment, his only companion a flickering, outdated holoscreen. Meanwhile, Anya, her head held high, thrived in her expanded role, her quiet dignity now resonating more powerfully than any insult Thorn had ever hurled. Thorn, hidden in the shadows of his self-imposed exile, once caught a glimpse of her disembarking from a high-speed maglev at the glistening Cyberdyne Tower, respected, admired, and ascending, while he remained a forgotten, unpleasant memory, a stark illustration of how hatred ultimately consumes the hater, leaving only desolation in its wake.